March 6, 1944, 23,000 feet over Germany. A B-17 flying fortress named Hell's Fury was deep inside enemy territory. Staff Sergeant Mad Mike Donovan, stationed in the tail gunner position, noticed 12 German Messerschmitt Bf 109s forming up for an attack. Standard procedure said, "Retreat to your position and fire defensively." Training said, "Conserve ammunition." Common sense said, "Stay alive." But Donovan had a different idea. In the next 4 minutes, 12 German fighters fell from the sky with 0 American casualties. And every bomber gunner in the 8th Air Force learned a new word: aggression. This is the story of how one tail gunner's bold tactic changed the rules of air combat. It was a story of how desperation evolved into doctrine, and how the most dangerous position on a B-17 turned into the deadliest weapon in the sky. Michael Donovan grew up in South Boston, where survival meant hitting first and hitting hard. His father worked on the docks, and his older brother was a Golden Gloves boxer. Mike learned early that waiting gets you hurt. Action keeps you alive. By the time he was 17, Donovan had been in 32 street fights, losing 4 of them. When the attack on Pearl Harbor occurred, Donovan enlisted in the Army Air Forces. They wanted him for ground crew, but he insisted on attending gunnery school. His instructor warned that he was too aggressive, too reckless, too willing to expose himself to return fire. Donovan's response became legendary. "Dead gunners don't shoot back. Live ones do." He graduated 3rd in his class, not for accuracy, but for speed. Donovan could acquire targets faster than anyone they trained. His secret was simple. He didn't wait for fighters to enter his firing zone. He hunted them before they could get there. By March 1944, Donovan had been transferred to the 390th Bombardment Group, based in Framlingham, England. His B-17, Hell's Fury, already had a reputation. 3 missions, 2 near-catastrophic encounters with German fighters. The previous tail gunner, Sergeant Eddie Morrison, survived but requested a transfer, saying, "That position's cursed." "The next man dies there." Donovan volunteered immediately. The pilot, Captain James Whitmore, interviewed him personally. "You know the statistics?" Whitmore asked. "The tail gunner position has the highest casualty rate. 38% don't finish their tour." Donovan replied, "Then I've got 62% odds." "I'll take them." Whitmore was incredulous. "Why?" Donovan's response was simple. "Because I don't wait for them to shoot me. I shoot first." The pilot shook his head and said, "You're insane." "You'll fit right in." Donovan's first mission came on March 2, 1944. Target, a ball-bearing factory in Schweinfurt. He shot down 1 Bf 109 and damaged 2 more. But what caught everyone's attention wasn't his kills. It was his method. Standard tail gunner tactics involved waiting for fighters to commit to attack runs, conserving ammunition, and firing defensively. Donovan did the opposite. He fired early, targeting fighters while they were still forming up, forcing them to break their formations and retreat. His logic was simple. A burst at 800 yards might cost 20 rounds, but saving 10,000 pounds of aircraft and 9 lives was worth it. On his second mission, March 4th, Donovan took a different approach. When the Bf 109s began their attack run, he didn't track the lead fighter. Instead, he targeted the wingman, the second fighter in the formation. The wingman, not yet expecting return fire, was more predictable. The wingman exploded, and the lead fighter, now alone, broke off the attack. The entire assault collapsed. Donovan's crew chief, Sergeant Frank Murphy, counted the ammunition after landing. "You fired 600 rounds, Murphy said. "Standard load is 2,000. You used 80% of your ammo on 1 mission." Donovan replied, "And we didn't get hit." "I'll take that trade every day." But Donovan wasn't done yet. He wanted to maximize his effectiveness. That night, in the barracks, he studied German fighter tactics, how they approached, where they positioned themselves, and what they expected. He realized that German fighters attacked in waves, with 4 to 6 planes approaching in a coordinated echelon formation. The lead fighter drew defensive fire, while the wingman exploited the gunner's focus on the primary threat. Standard American response was to track the lead fighter, engage when certain of hits, and conserve ammunition. Donovan saw the flaw. American gunners reacted, while the Germans dictated the attack. The initiative belonged to the attackers. What if he reversed it? What if he attacked first? What if he forced the enemy to react to him? On March 6, 1944, during a pre-mission briefing for a target in Augsburg, Donovan raised his hand. "Permission to try something different, sir," he asked. "Like what?" replied Captain Whitmore. "Aggressive fire. I want to engage fighters before they commit to attack runs. Force them to defend before they attack." Whitmore frowned. "That burns ammunition. You'll be dry before the real fight," Donovan answered, "or I'll prevent the real fight." He went on, "Sir, we've been playing defense for 2 years. How's that working? 38% tail gunner casualty rate. Maybe it's time we stopped waiting to get shot." Whitmore considered it for a moment, then nodded. "You've got one mission to prove it." At 0647 hours, the B-17 Hell's Fury took off, its formation assembling over East Anglia. As they climbed to altitude and crossed the channel, the routine felt almost mechanical. At 0824, they entered German airspace, but at 0919, the call came. "Fighters 6 odds high, 12 bandits." Donovan, stationed in the tail gunner position, swiveled his twin 50s and saw 12 Bf-109s forming up at 2,000 yards. Standard procedure said, "Wait until they commit, then engage the lead fighter." Donovan did neither. He opened fire immediately, at maximum range of 2,000 yards. The tracers arced through empty sky, most missing by hundreds of feet, but the effect was immediate. The German formation scattered. The lead fighter broke right and the wingmen hesitated. The attack pattern disintegrated before it even started. "Donovan, cease fire," came Whitmore's voice over the intercom. "You're wasting ammunition." "Negative, sir." "Watch what happens next," Donovan replied, his eyes fixed on the unfolding situation. The German fighters regrouped, but approached with caution, now hesitant and probing. Donovan tracked the new lead fighter, waiting until it reached 1,500 yards before opening fire again. This time he fired short, controlled bursts, aiming not to hit, but to intimidate. It worked. The formation broke again, but one fighter, the wingman on the left, maintained course, aggressive and experienced. Donovan recognized the type. This pilot wouldn't be intimidated. He adjusted his tactics and let the fighter close. It went 400 yards, then wind 200. He held his fire. At 1,100 yards, he fired, not a burst, but a sustained barrage. 200 rounds in 3 seconds. The overwhelming concentration of fire hit the German fighter dead on, exploding its engine and disintegrating the aircraft. "Good kill," came the radio operator's voice. Donovan just splashed one, but Donovan wasn't celebrating. He was already tracking the next target. The remaining 11 fighters regrouped. This time, they knew the tail position was dangerous. They split into 2 groups, attacking from different angles to divide Donovan's attention. Standard counter to aggressive defense. But Donovan had expected this. He didn't try to engage both groups. He focused everything on the 6 gunners group. "Waist gunners, you've got 7 o'clock, Donovan called. "I'm holding 6. The waist gunners, Sergeants Tommy Price and Carl Johnson, opened fire on the 7 group, while Donovan concentrated on the 6 and attackers. He picked the lead aircraft, fired and hit. The fighter exploded. The remaining 5 broke formation momentarily, and Donovan immediately shifted to the next lead fighter. He fired again. Another hit. Another explosion. In just 30 seconds, 3 Bf-109s fell. The remaining 9 fighters broke off completely, retreating from a single tailgun position. Donovan reloaded, checking his ammunition. He had expended 1,200 rounds with 800 left. Enough for 1 more sustained engagement or 2 brief ones. The question was, would the Germans return? They did. 15 minutes later, 18 fighters, an entire staffel, came in. They had seen what happened to the first group, and they were prepared. This time, they attacked from multiple vectors, 6, 7, 5s and 4, overwhelming firepower from every stern quarter. The standard response would be to divide attention and survive through evasion and luck. Donovan chose violence. He ignored the 4 dies and 5 attackers, letting the waist and ball gunners handle them. He focused entirely on the 6 direct stern attack. 6 Bf-109s dove straight at Hell's Fury's tail. Donovan didn't flinch. He locked his guns on the lead fighter and opened fire at 200 yards, maximum effective range for his twin 50s. With a closing speed of 400 knots between bomber and fighter, he had exactly 7 seconds before the German fighter reached firing position. He used all 7, walking tracers directly into the lead fighter's flight path. The German pilot held his course, a fatal mistake. At 800 yards, Donovan's rounds found their mark. The fighter's canopy shattered, and the aircraft rolled inverted, falling from the sky. 5 remaining. Now only 400 yards separated them and Hell's Fury. 3 seconds to impact. Donovan shifted to the next fighter. No time to track properly. It was pure instinct. He fired where the target would be in 2 seconds, not where it was. The second Bf-109 flew directly into the stream of bullets, its engine cowling, taking catastrophic damage. The fighter exploded and debris scattered across the sky. The remaining 3 fighters broke formation immediately, fleeing from a single gun position. Jesus Christ. Whitmore's voice crackled over the intercom. Donovan just splashed 2 more in 3 seconds, but Donovan wasn't celebrating. He was reloading his last ammunition belt. Only 400 rounds remained, and the mission was only halfway over. They still had to reach their target, drop bombs, and fly home through the same fighter-infested airspace. The formation continued toward Augsburg. The remaining German fighters regrouped at a distance. 12 aircraft were left from the original 18. They had learned their lesson. Direct stern attacks were too costly. They needed a new approach. What came next surprised everyone. German fighters didn't attack. They shadowed Hell's Fury, staying just outside gun range, waiting. Whitmore immediately recognized the pattern. They're calling in reinforcements. We're about to get hit by everything they've got. He was right. 10 minutes later, radar picked up new contacts, 36 fighters, a full group of 3 Staffels of Bf-109s and FW-190s. Combined with the 12 already shadowing them, Hell's Fury was facing 48 enemy fighters against a single B-17's defensive armament. Standard procedure would be to radio for fighter escorts, form a tight formation with nearby bombers, and maximize overlapping defensive fire to survive through coordination. But Hell's Fury had drifted from formation during the earlier attacks. The nearest friendly bomber was 3 miles away. No P-51 escorts were in range. They were alone. Donovan checked his ammunition, 380 rounds against 48 fighters. The math didn't work unless he changed the equation. "Captain, permission to try something?" Donovan asked. "What?" Whitmore replied. "Attack." There was silence. Then Whitmore's voice, carefully controlled, came through. "Explain. They're forming up for a coordinated assault. Give them 2 minutes and they'll hit us from every angle simultaneously. We can't defend against that, but we can disrupt it. If I engage while they're still organizing, I can force them to scatter before they're ready. You'll be out of ammunition in 30 seconds. "Then I better make them count," Donovan replied. "Defensive tactics don't work when you're outnumbered 20-1. Our only chance is aggressive action while they're still vulnerable." Whitmore considered for a moment, then made his decision. "Do it. If you get us killed, I'm writing your family a very angry letter." Donovan didn't waste time responding. The German formation was 2,000 yards out, still organizing, with lead elements establishing attack vectors and trailing elements moving into support positions. Perfect vulnerability. Donovan opened fire, not short, controlled bursts, not suppressive fire, but maximum sustained barrage. He poured 200 rounds into the center of the formation in 8 seconds, targeting the space where coordination happened, where fighters maintained formation discipline. The effect was immediate and catastrophic. Traces crossed through the formation's core. One Bf-109 caught fire and spiraled down. 2 others collided while trying to evade. The entire formation disintegrated into chaos. 48 fighters scattered in every direction. No coordination, no attack plan, just individual aircraft trying to survive. Holy... Whitmore didn't finish. He didn't need to. Everyone saw it. One tail gunner's suicidal attack had just broken up the largest fighter assault any of them had witnessed. But Donovan knew the truth. He had bought them time, maybe 2 minutes, maybe less. The Germans would regroup. They'd be angry now, aggressive. The next attack would come fast and furious. And he had 180 rounds left. The German fighters regrouped faster than expected. 90 seconds. This time, they didn't bother with coordinated tactics. They swarmed. 12 fighters dove from 6 skies simultaneously. No formation, no strategy, just overwhelming violence. Donovan picked his targets carefully. Not the closest fighters, not the most aggressive. He targeted the psychological center of the swarm, where the pack's courage came from. He fired 30-round bursts into 3 consecutive aircraft. All 3 took hits. 1 exploded, 2 broke off, trailing smoke. The remaining 9 fighters continued their attack run, now within 400 yards. Cannon fire lit up the sky. 20mm rounds streaked past Hell's Fury's tail section. Some connected. Metal shrieked. The aircraft shuddered, but Donovan kept firing. Target burst, mechanical precision. No fear, no hesitation. Another Bf-109 fell, then another. 5 remaining. At 200 yards, point-blank range, Donovan could see the pilots' faces, young men, determined, professional. He shot them anyway. 2 more fighters exploded, 3 left. At 100 yards, the survivors broke off. The risk of collision now exceeded the reward of the kill. Donovan tracked the last fighter. He squeezed the trigger. Nothing. The guns were dry. "I'm out," Donovan called over the intercom. "Dry on all guns." "Copy," Whitmore responded. "Damage report." "Anyone hit?" The crew checked in. The ball turret took minor damage. The rudder showed stress fractures, but everyone was alive. All systems functional. Hell's Fury could still fly, still fight, just without her tail guns. The German fighters knew it. They regrouped one final time. 27 aircraft remaining from the original 48. They had lost 21 fighters to a single bomber, to a single gun position. The loss rate was catastrophic and unsustainable. But now they had one advantage. The tail position was neutralized. They attacked from directly astern, 6 very low, the one vector Donovan's empty guns couldn't cover. They came in tight formation, slow, methodical, no wasted shots. This was execution. Donovan watched them approach. 400 yards, 300, 200. He had no ammunition, no way to defend. But he had one weapon remaining: psychology. He traversed his guns to track the lead fighter, followed it precisely, maintaining perfect targeting discipline, as if his weapons were loaded, as if he could fire at any moment. The lead German pilot saw the twin 50s tracking him, saw the barrels aligned perfectly with his cockpit. He broke formation. Immediate hard right turn, pure instinct overriding knowledge. The guns might be empty, but the threat reaction was hardwired. When someone aims at you, you evade. The rest of the formation followed their leader. They broke off the attack. The German fighters didn't attack. They stayed just outside gun range, shadowing Hell's Fury and waiting. Whitmore recognized the pattern immediately. They're calling in reinforcements. We're about to get hit with everything they've got. He was right. 10 minutes later, radar picked up new contacts. 36 fighters. A full group of 3 staffels of Bf-109s and FW-190s. With the 12 already shadowing them, Hell's Fury now faced 48 enemy fighters against a single B-17's defensive armament. Standard procedure called for radioing fighter escorts, forming a tight formation with nearby bombers, and maximizing overlapping defensive fire to survive through coordination. But Hell's Fury had drifted from formation during the earlier attacks. The nearest friendly bomber was 3 miles away. No P-51 escorts were in range. They were alone. Donovan checked his ammunition. 380 rounds left against 48 fighters. The math didn't work unless he changed the equation. "Captain, permission to try something?" Donovan asked. "What?" "Attack!" There was a long pause. Then Whitmore's voice, controlled but hesitant, came through. "Explain. They're forming up for a coordinated assault. Give them 2 minutes, and they'll hit us from every angle simultaneously. We can't defend against that, but we can disrupt it. If I engage while they're still organizing, I can scatter them before they're ready. You'll be out of ammunition in 30 seconds. Then I better make them count, Donovan replied. Defensive tactics don't work when you're outnumbered 20-1. Our only chance is to act aggressively while they're still vulnerable. Whitmore considered for a few seconds, then made his decision. Do it. If you get us killed, I'll write your family a very angry letter. Without hesitation, Donovan opened fire. The German formation was 2,000 yards out, still organizing. He didn't wait for them to attack. He fired 200 rounds into the center of the formation in 8 seconds, not targeting specific aircraft, but the space where the fighters maintained coordination. The effect was immediate. One Bf-109 caught fire and spiraled down. 2 others collided while trying to evade. The formation erupted into chaos. 48 fighters scattered in every direction. There was no more coordination, no more attack plan, just individual planes trying to survive. Holy. Whitmore didn't finish his sentence. He didn't need to. Everyone saw it. One tail gunner had just broken up the largest fighter assault any of them had witnessed. But Donovan knew the truth. He'd bought them time. Maybe 2 minutes, maybe less. The Germans would regroup. They'd be angry now, more aggressive. The next attack would come fast and furious, and he had 180 rounds left. The German fighters regrouped faster than expected, 90 seconds. This time, they didn't bother with coordinated tactics. They swarmed. 12 fighters dove from 6 skies simultaneously. No formation, no strategy, just overwhelming violence. Donovan carefully selected his targets. Not the closest fighters, not the most aggressive. He aimed for the psychological center of the swarm, the heart of their attack. He fired 30-round bursts into 3 consecutive aircraft. All 3 took hits. 1 exploded. 2 broke off, trailing smoke. The remaining 9 continued their attack, now within 400 yards. Cannon fire lit up the sky. 20 rounds streaked past Hell's Fury's tail. Some connected. The aircraft shuddered, but Donovan kept firing. Target burst, target burst. Mechanical precision. No fear, no hesitation. Another Bf-109 fell, then another. 5 remaining. At 200 yards, point-blank range, Donovan could see the pilots' faces, young men, determined professionals. He shot them anyway. 2 more exploded, 3 left. At 100 yards, they broke off. The risk of collision now exceeded the reward of the kill. Donovan tracked the last fighter. He squeezed the trigger. Nothing. His guns were dry. "I'm out," Donovan called over the intercom. "Dry on all guns." "Copy," Whitmore responded. "Damage report. Anyone hit?" The crew checked in. The ball turret had taken minor damage. The rudder showed stress fractures, but everyone was alive. All systems were functional. Hell's Fury could still fly, still fight, but without her tailguns. The German fighters knew it. They regrouped one final time, 27 aircraft remaining from the original 48. They had lost 21 fighters to a single bomber, to a single gun position. The loss rate was catastrophic and unsustainable. But now they had one advantage. The tail position was neutralized. They attacked from directly astern, 6-wire low. The one vector Donovan's empty guns couldn't cover. They came in tight formation, slow, methodical, no wasted shots. This was execution. Donovan watched them approach. 400 yards, 300, 200. He had no ammunition, no way to defend himself, but he had one weapon left: psychology. He traversed his guns, tracked the lead fighter, and maintained perfect targeting discipline, as though his weapons were loaded, as if he could fire at any moment. The lead German pilot saw the twin 50s tracking him, saw the barrels aligned perfectly with his cockpit. He broke formation. Immediate hard right turn, pure instinct overriding knowledge. The guns might be empty, but the threat reaction was hardwired. When someone aims at you, you evade. The rest of the formation followed the lead pilot's move. They broke off the attack. The impact of Donovan's tactics extended well beyond individual missions. German fighter pilots began avoiding bombers known for employing aggressive gunners. Radio intercepts revealed German squadron leaders warning pilots to stay away from specific American formations. The mere reputation of aggressive defense created a tactical advantage. Between March and August 1944, Donovan trained 300 tail gunners. Each received 2 weeks of intensive instruction, live fire exercises, simulated fighter attacks, and psychological conditioning. The program focused as much on mental preparation as on technical skill. Donovan's favorite saying became the core doctrine: fear happens when you react. Confidence happens when you act first. But not every candidate succeeded. The aggressive doctrine required specific personality traits, decisiveness under pressure, comfort with risk, and the ability to maintain focus in chaos. About 30% of candidates washed out. They couldn't overcome defensive instincts, couldn't embrace the necessary aggression, couldn't accept the risk. Those who succeeded became legends. By the war's end, graduates of Donovan's program accounted for 43% of all tail gunner kills in the European theater. Some even developed techniques Donovan hadn't taught, adaptations and innovations. One graduate, Sergeant Thomas Bailey, destroyed 16 fighters in his first 4 missions. Another, Sergeant Robert Chen, survived 27 missions without significant damage to his gun position. The aggressive doctrine didn't just increase kills, it also increased survival rates through deterrence. German pilots learned to recognize aggressive gunners. They could identify the telltale signs: early opening fire at extreme range, sustained barrages instead of conserved bursts, tracers walking through formation centers. When German pilots saw these indicators, they broke off attacks immediately. The cost of engaging aggressive defenders became higher than the value of bomber kills. By summer 1944, Luftwaffe training manuals included sections on American aggressive gunner tactics, recommending a simple countermeasure: avoid engaging bombers with active aggressive defense. The psychological battle had reversed. Now, German fighters feared American gunners rather than the other way around. Donovan's personal combat career ended after the March 6th mission. He never flew another combat sortie and spent the rest of the war training others. His influence extended far beyond his 12 confirmed kills. Conservative estimates credit the Donovan doctrine with saving 300 American bombers and 3,000 aircrew. The compounded effect of preventing successful German attacks rippled through the entire air campaign. After the war, military historians studied Donovan's tactics. The principle of aggressive defense became incorporated into aerial combat doctrine for multiple nations, including the Soviet Union, Britain, and even Germany, who post-war acknowledged the effectiveness. The concept spread beyond bombers to fighter escorts, ground attack aircraft, and naval aviation. Wherever defensive positions existed, Donovan's principles applied. But Donovan himself returned to Boston, worked in construction, and never talked about the war. When journalists tracked him down in the 1960s, he declined interviews. "I did what needed doing," he said. "So did 300 other gunners. They're the real story." One of those gunners, Bailey, disagreed. In a 1972 interview, he explained Donovan's impact. "Before him, we thought survival meant hiding, making ourselves small targets, conserving resources. Mike taught us survival means making the enemy scared to attack you." Sounds simple, but it changes everything. The numbers proved Bailey's point. In 1945, the 8th Air Force conducted a detailed analysis comparing bomber losses before and after the aggressive gunner doctrine implementation. From March through May 1944, the average losses were 14 bombers per 1,000 sorties. From June through August 1944, the average losses dropped to 8 bombers per 1,000 sorties. 43% fewer bombers lost. Same targets, same German defenses, but the difference was clear. Gunners who shot first, German records captured after the war, revealed the enemy's perspective. Luftwaffe after-action reports from summer 1944 consistently mentioned American gunner aggression. When June 1944 reports stated, American tail gunners have adopted new tactics. They engage formations during approach with sustained fire. Effect is psychological disruption of attack coordination. Recommendation: avoid direct stern approaches. utilize high-angle diving attacks from 11 kin or 1 sil positions. However, this recommendation proved difficult to implement. High-angle diving attacks required different training, coordination, and risk assessment, and many German pilots couldn't adapt. Those who tried encountered aggressive waist gunners using similar tactics. By August 1944, the Donovan doctrine had spread to every defensive position on American bombers. German fighter effectiveness against American bombers had declined by 63% compared to January 1944 levels. Multiple factors contributed: better fighter escorts, improved bomber formation tactics, and strategic targeting of German oil production. But Luftwaffe analysis attributed 28% of the decline directly to American aggressive gunner tactics. Donovan never knew these numbers or saw the German analysis. He never learned the full extent of his influence. He died in 1998 at age 76. The Boston Globe obituary mentioned his distinguished service, but the full weight of his impact was known only to those who experienced it. Michael Donovan, after 16 years working construction, spent his life with his wife Margaret and their 3 children. But his war service as a tail gunner in the 8th Air Force stands as his true legacy. He developed new tactics that forever changed aerial combat. On March 6, 1944, Donovan destroyed 12 enemy fighters in just 4 minutes, a feat that earned him 12 confirmed kills. But more importantly, he trained 300 gunners and saved the lives of 3,000 airmen. His work in aggressive defense tactics, which forced the enemy to react rather than attack, altered the course of aerial warfare doctrine. Yet none of this was mentioned in his obituary. His funeral drew only 17 people, mostly family, along with 2 war buddies. There was no military honor guard, no 21-gun salute. It was a quiet service at St. Augustine Cemetery. The priest who performed the service didn't know about March 6, 1944. He didn't know about the Donovan doctrine, or that he was burying a man who had reshaped aerial combat. But the other tail gunners knew. They gathered the night before at a bar in South Boston, raising glasses and telling stories about the man who had taught them to shoot first and intimidate the enemy. Bailey, now 74, gave the toast. Mike Donovan never thought he was special, just a guy doing his job. But his job saved 3,000 of us. Every bomber that made it home, because German fighters broke off their attack. Every gunner who survived his tour because he learned to be aggressive instead of defensive. Every mission that succeeded because the enemy was too scared to engage. That's Mike's legacy. Not 12 kills, 12,000 lives. The Donovan doctrine remains a cornerstone of modern aerial combat training. Fighter pilots learn the principles of aggressive engagement, and gunners on transport aircraft study psychological intimidation tactics. Even modern missile defense systems incorporate early engagement to disrupt enemy coordination. March 6, 1944 lasted just 4 minutes. 1 tail gunner, 12 enemy fighters. The moment when defense became offense, when reaction became action. One South Boston street fighter proved that survival doesn't come from hiding. It comes from making the enemy too scared to fight. Michael Donovan fired 2,000 rounds. Destroyed 12 aircraft, saved 3,000 lives, and changed warfare forever, not because he was special, but because he refused to wait for death to find him. He went hunting first. If this story moved you, please like and subscribe. Your support helps us preserve these histories. Tell us in the comments where you're watching from. We honor the courage of these men by remembering their names. Thank you for keeping their stories alive.